Hello friends, my name is Hans Rueffert. Welcome to the Gesundheit Kitchen. We are doing our series of superfoods, and this is from the Harvard University list of 10 superfoods, and that term gets thrown around a lot, so we're doing kind of a deep dive into what those foods are and how you can incorporate them into your diet, especially for those of us who are GI compromised. Now, for me personally, one of the foods that helped me the most during my recovery post-surgery were really nuts and nut butters. Now, immediately after surgery, eating whole nuts was a little too rough on my kind of, bruised and bandaged GI system, but using nut butter. So things like, of course, peanut butter is the ubiquitous one we all know and love, but also cashew butter, pumpkin seed butter, which is delicious, by the way, almond butter, and there's Brazil nut butter, so it's just a great thing to have on the ready. And I would have a dedicated jar that would have my name on there so that anytime I felt like I needed a snack, I would go and take a spoon, get a spoonful of almond butter, and be able just to kind of work on that with a cup of hot tea or something, just to have something to eat to get those much needed calories, but also the protein that my body needed to repair myself after so many surgeries. So this is a fun little recipe that incorporates nuts and nut butter, and it's also a very easy go-to thing, and it's also fun to make with the kids. And these are essentially kind of protein bites, and to do this I'm going to use a flake cereal. Now, whichever one you like, there's so many good options out there, but really all I'm looking for are whole grains that are, kind of flattened and cooked. There's not a lot of extra added anything to this. So this particular one is like the grape nut flakes, but there are a million varieties out there. And it is essentially equal parts. So I'm looking at about, for one batch of this, I'm gonna use about a half a cup of the flakes. I'm gonna use about the same of shredded coconut, which, don't forget, coconuts are nuts. In fact, it is the largest nut. And there's a lot of health benefits to coconut as well. It's just a delicious thing. If you're not a coconut fan, the flavor of the coconut doesn't really stand out here much, but you get that great fiber and also the protein from that. But you could omit the coconut altogether if you're not a fan. And then I'm gonna put just a drizzle of honey in here for sweetness. And then I think my recipe calls for about a tablespoon, but you can adjust that or omit that if you don't need the extra sweetness. And then lastly comes the nut butter. Now I'm gonna use almond butter, and again, typically it's equal parts, so it's about half a cup. But the last batch that I made, this is fairly stiff, right? So this particular almond butter is thick, and so it's kind of hard to work in. So what I did was add a little bit of peanut butter to that as well. And again, any of these combinations, you could use the pumpkin seed butter or the cashew butter, whichever one you like, but I always have peanut butter on the ready. And also make sure that it's natural. Really, the only ingredients you want in there are the nuts. There might be a little bit of salt, but the natural oils from the nuts come into that too. Sometimes on these natural nut butters, you do have to kind of reconstitute them. The oil will rise to the top. But that's okay. It means you got 5 more seconds of labor before you're able to spread it on your toast or to make whatever you're making. So this is going to take a second to incorporate it. Essentially, I'm trying to make a homogeneous blend here. And so while I'm doing this, we're going to talk with my dear friend, Dr. Ellen Steinberg, about nuts as a superfood and why they are a superfood. And she's always a joy to visit with anyway. So let me combine this while Dr. Steinberg tells us more. So one of my personal superfoods during my whole gastric cancer journey was nuts, and still is. A major part of my diet. I eat nut butters constantly. That's my go-to snack food. So I love them, but let's talk about why they're so nutritional.
Well, nuts are very high in protein, which is great. They do have a lot of calories per weight. But that's wonderful if you're looking to gain weight. So you can eat a very little bit, like a handful of nuts, and get quite a few calories and a great source of protein. So, and they also have monounsaturated fats, which means that they're good fats for your body. And so if you were to have any cardiovascular risk factors or anything like that, it's not going to raise your cholesterol.
Well, I know for folks that have had compromised GI systems, sometimes that coarser nuts or whole nuts are difficult, especially right after surgery. So my advice that was given to me, which was so helpful, was nut butters. And even if you buy them ready-made, you go for the natural ones that aren't extra high in sugar. Really, the ingredients usually is just nuts and salt. And I like to sneak them into other foods like salad dressings, or even if you're eating yogurt sometimes, and we'll get to yogurt, I would just add peanut butter or cashew butter or almond butter as a way to, again, get that calorie intake up while adding that necessary protein.
Right, and it's not necessarily adding to whether or not you'd get full faster. So if you were eating oatmeal even, a teaspoon of peanut butter, you're adding some great protein, but it doesn't feel like you're adding more food.
Yeah.
So that's a great way to incorporate calories, but also protein, folate, a lot of good stuff. Vitamin E, very high in vitamin E.
Well, and the recommendation is always, rather than think of life in terms of how many meals per day, it's more like grazing. And so nuts are a very convenient food to have on hand, where you can just keep them on the ready and eat them as you go.
Absolutely, and there's so many to choose from.
A lot of variety. So always thank you to my dear friend Ellen, who she's always a little bit smarter than me when it comes to those things. I know just enough to be dangerous, so it's always good to check in with Ellen on those things. So this is all coming together nicely, and really you can add things inside of it as well, but having things on the ready, like our different types of seeds and nuts. I've got sunflower seeds and pumpkin seeds and pistachios and walnuts and cashews and almonds and pecans. Adds some great variety, right? So you can change these up any way you like. So this is a sticky mess, as you can see. So when I'm going to kind of make these into the balls, into the spheres here, I got to do something so that they aren't just sticking to everything. So I have some wheat germ, but also these are hemp seed hearts, which are great. But any one of these will work. But I want to have something that will stick to the outside. So I'm going to combine, again, those are hemp hearts and wheat germ, and then I'm going to throw some more coconut flakes on the outside, just to kind of make something to land these in, and this will make them where I can handle them and they won't stick to everything. So I'm going to take my 2 spoons and make just a rough shape, right, so that I'm not having to do that by my hands. And then once I get this kind of coated, then I can come in and put this in here and really roll this around and make a giant mess in the process. But these are good just like this, but if you put them in the fridge or even in the freezer, they will, firm up 100%. And as I, kind of mentioned in the video, the great thing about these nuts is that they are portable, right? You can just grab them and eat. Well, this is also, you could take these with you to work, put them in the fridge, have them in a little container, or I have them in the fridge at home. So when I'm walking by on my way to go play pickleball or on the way to go pick up Heidi from school, I can grab one of these things and have really a little protein bomb that is delicious, and it sounds like a commercial. It's delicious and nutritious, and mom approved, kid tested, mom approved, dad approved as well. So you can customize this any way you like, and if you have somebody in the house that's not a coconut fan, omit it. If you want to chop up in the food processor some of these other nuts. Another idea that I have done before is to take dried fruits like cherries or craisins and then shove them into the middle of this. So you have a little sweet bite in the middle, or I could take, a nice piece of walnut. This might be too big, let me trim him down a little bit, but you can shove a walnut or an almond into the center, and so when you get to the center, it's almost like a candy bar where you have something fun on the inside. But I think these are awesome, and they are portable and convenient, and just a lot of protein in a small package. I'm going to finish these guys up, and we'll put these with some that I made earlier, and these did not have the coconut in them, so we can kind of scatter these around and then top these on here. And just like on our display here, it's just nice to have some different textures and colors and bites in this. Make them how you want to, customize them, make them your own. But having things like this on the ready is so important, so when you might not feel well enough to create something like this, but you need to get some nutrition in, making things like this in advance, having those things on the ready really is an important kind of a shortcut to making sure you're meeting those nutritional goals. So We are going to continue our focus on superfoods until we've knocked them all out and enjoyed them all. I invite you to join us here at gastriccancer.org for further episodes. And as always, take care of yourself and Gesundheit.